Imagine you are standing deep inside a pitch-black cave in southern France. It is 30,000 years ago at the height of the Ice Age, and the time is exactly 4:12 a.m., just 3 meters ahead of you in the absolute darkness. You hear a wet, slow, and rhythmic breathing sound. It is the heavy huff of a giant cave bear, but you cannot see it. You have no flashlight, no smartphone screen to light the way. Only the dying embers of a frail oak branch are warming your skin, and you can do absolutely nothing. And your brain is currently doing something completely useless. Instead of panicking about which sharp stone you should throw in tomorrow's hunt, it is entirely focused on how to shield that tiny spark of fire from the wind. This feeling of sheer helplessness did not just happen that night. This exact struggle repeated itself every single night across every continent for over 200,000 years. Physically, you could not outrun a lion, nor did you have the claws to wrestle an 80-kilogram leopard, yet, against all odds, you survived. But how? More importantly, what would happen if you stepped out of that terrifying cave and straight under the bright, buzzing lights of a modern grocery store? By the end of this journey, you will look at your shopping cart and the way you fill it with a completely different perspective, leaving you with a lingering sense of evolutionary dread. When people think of a prehistoric human walking into a grocery store, they imagine a cartoonish, wild caricature. A confused brute running through the aisles with a spear, throwing bananas at the escalator, or headbutting the automatic sliding doors. No. Stop. Absolutely not. The person we are talking about had a brain the exact same size as ours, or, if they carried Neanderthal genes, up to 10% larger. They were biological masterpieces possessed of razor-sharp senses and finely tuned survival software. The very first second they stepped into a supermarket would be more jarring than a predator ambush in the wild. A modern grocery store is illuminated by an average of 5,000 lux of artificial fluorescent light. To someone who lived by a 5-lux campfire in a pitch-black cave, this is a supernova. At the same instant, a wave of chemical cleaners, fresh-baked bread, and packaged food aromas would bombard their nose. Think about it. This is the sensory equivalent of trying to comprehend a philosophy lecture whispered in your ear while standing next to a roaring jet engine. Within seconds, their brain would trigger an emergency alarm. Yet, these bright lights are not their worst enemy. Because the real shock comes from something far deeper, here is where everything changes. A prehistoric hunter-gatherer spent their entire life in clans of no more than 150 people, known in anthropology as Dunbar's number. They knew everyone in this group from infancy. In a supermarket, however, they would lock eyes with at least 300 strangers in less than half an hour. Today, when we pass a stranger, we politely look down or glance at our phones. For a prehistoric human, every stranger represented a 50% chance of a lethal clan war. Consider this. As they walked the aisles with every muscle tensed and ready to strike, they would be absolutely baffled by how modern humans can stand so close to so many strangers without a fight breaking out. And then, their eyes would catch something else. The metal, wheeled shopping cart at the entrance would look like an absolute miracle to them. In 2013, scientists at the Sibidu Cave in South Africa discovered 77,000-year-old carrying bags made of plant fibers. This proves that human history is actually a history of carrying things around. The ordinary cart you push without a second thought is, in their eyes, a friction-free, boundary-breaking version of the leather pouches and woven baskets they spent millennia trying to perfect. They would grasp the handle and push it with immense appreciation. But if you think they would easily fill that cart, you are mistaken. Because the food on the shelves looks nothing like the nature they knew. Think about it. A wild apple in the Paleolithic era was only the size of a tiny plum and contained almost no sugar. The sweetest thing in nature, wild honey, came with an 80% risk of being stung to death by angry bees. Yet, in the junk food aisle of a supermarket, a single package contains 50 grams of pure refined sugar and heavy fats. This is an energy bomb 10 times more concentrated than anything found in the wild. A prehistoric human's brain would completely short-circuit here. Their evolutionary software would scream, "Eat this immediately, eat all of it, because winter is coming and you will never find this many calories again." The most interesting part is that their logic could not tell them to stop because their biology never developed a braking mechanism against extreme abundance. This is not just a theoretical guess, it is a documented reality. A 2018 study conducted on the Hadza tribe of Tanzania, who still live as hunter-gatherers, examined their metabolic responses when introduced to modern sugary foods for the first time. Researchers found that the Hadza developed absolutely no satiety signals towards these high-calorie foods. They simply ate as much as they could find. Their bodies, designed to walk miles every day to burn calories, immediately shifted into fat storage mode in our supermarket-like environment. And this is where the ultimate survival expert of the wild collides head-on with the ultimate consumption trap of the modern world. And then, we reach the turning point where the story flips 180 degrees. While we might laugh at the imagined confusion of a prehistoric human in a grocery store, we fail to realize that the truly tragic figure in this scenario is actually us. A caveman would quickly recognize the physical threats of the supermarket, the blinding lights, the overwhelming noises, and go on the defensive. But they would never perceive the far more insidious danger. They would not see that the aisles are laid out with deep psychological intent, that the most expensive and sugary foods are placed exactly at eye level, or that the slow tempo music playing in the background is scientifically proven to lower your heart rate so you linger longer and buy more. The ultimate hunter would become the easiest prey in seconds, hunted by modern marketers. While evolutionary psychologists still debate the exact limits of these supermarket traps, the pattern is clear. We are all prehistoric brains walking through a modern labyrinth, being hunted every single day. Supermarkets may look like monuments to the triumph of a brain that survived the predators of that dark cave 30,000 years ago. In reality, they are massive traps designed to exploit that very brain's oldest vulnerabilities. The next time you walk into a grocery store, standing under those buzzing fluorescent lights, holding a sweet treat in your hand, and frozen in indecision about whether you should buy it, remember this: you are not actually in a store. In your mind, you are still in that dark cave, trying to ignore the breathing of a bear 3 meters away, desperate to grab every calorie you can to survive the winter. That package in your cart is not just food. It is your oldest survival instinct calling out to you from the dark.